Well, we are live. Welcome in, everybody, to another night of Sports Night. This is Sports Night episode 7. And we are going to get a little controversial tonight, just a little bit, but only for half of the show, I think. We're going to try to keep it as fun as possible. But tonight, we're going to talk about mascots, sports mascots, and some of them and their ethnic background, and kind of get into whether or not how we feel about that, approve of it, disapprove of it, and kind of give our opinions on that, because it's a subject that can be very divisive, I guess is the word. But before we get started, let me say hi to my partner channel, my partner in crime, my buddy Steve. Steve, welcome in, pal.
Thank you so much, buddy. Wouldn't be here anywhere else besides here. So this is what I look forward to every week.
We appreciate it. No, we're glad you're here too, and definitely appreciate it. Of course, Steve goes live himself. He goes live on Monday nights with Monday Madness. Please check him out every Monday at 8. And, of course, he's here on Saturday nights with us. And, again, we appreciate everybody popping over from Dan's stream. I hope you guys had a good time with that. We're going to have a good time, too. Second half of the show tonight, we're going to talk Disney. I also want to say real fast to Dean over at the liveplace.com, family-friendly live streams. Thank you for hosting, as usual. He does great stuff over there. And for ourselves, Melissa and I, we go live on Thursdays with Disney Talk Thursdays. I go live on Tuesdays with Mouse Madness, and of course we're here on Saturday nights. So let's get going. Let me say hi to a few people in the chat. See a couple, maybe a few new people in there. I want to say hi to Miguel. Miguel, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you. Michael Riley, thanks for being here. Finn O'Sullivan, I think it's maybe the first time I've seen you. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. A Phillies fan. There you go. Phillies fan. Yep, not too far from me. RV into Disney. Kay Atwood. Ray J's here. Welcome, Ray J. Good to see you. How's everything where you are? I know it's probably beginning of the morning where you are over there, but welcome in. Everybody, we're going to talk, again, we're going to get a little bit, not a ton, but a little bit controversial. We'll try to keep it. And again, we always say this. Please respect people's opinions. It's just that they are their opinions. We all have them. We're all going to be respectful of each other, but we're going to have fun. And it's always good to be able to have conversations. That's what you have to do. Communication is key with anything in this world. And as long as we're talking and listening to each other, sometimes you make progress with things. And so we're definitely going to have a good time with it tonight. But Steve, 7:30 a.m. where Ray J is. Wow. Having breakfast. Must be nice. Hope it's a good one. But yeah, let's talk about it. Mascots. And this is something that I've noticed for me is becoming more of an issue within the last 5 to 7 years. It seems like you're seeing more of this. Hey, Patrick Zippity Doodad, welcome in. What are your thoughts?
Well, and to preface that before we get going here, I know you said, having a discussion and everybody be respectful, and that's sometimes how you find other viewpoints to consider as well. So, like Walt said, it is going to be controversial to some extent, and we may not be able to see the views that other people see because sometimes it doesn't affect us. But again, just be respectful and help us understand your opinion if you think we need to, if we're not in the same opinion you are. So, but this is, for me, I'm kind of torn. So it is becoming a bigger issue in the last 5 to 7 years. But at the same time, I'm somewhat torn because I don't think, in my opinion, that a sports mascot is derogatory towards an ethnic group. So if you just take some different examples, there are a lot of Native American ones in across all sports. You got even college, you get the Fighting Illini. You've got I'm losing the Warriors, Golden State Warriors. You have
Florida Seminoles.
The Kansas City Chiefs, the Washington Redskins,
Cleveland Indians.
It goes on forever. So some people don't see the fault with those. And Miguel threw out the Braves, et cetera. So there are a lot of them. And it seems to be, to me, at least in the last 5 to 7 years, like you were talking about, this group of people is the one that seems to be I'm not saying they're causing the issue. This is what everybody seems to be focusing on, is the Native American mascots. But to me, all the mascots are pretty much thrown into the same group. There are mascots of multiple nationalities. You have the Boston, technically speaking, you have the Boston Celtics, who are named after the Irish. You have the Minnesota Vikings, which was its own culture. You have here in America, even if you wanted to get rid of all ethnic group mascots, we would have to get rid of the New York Yankees, which might please some of you, but not me. So you'd have to get rid of the Houston Texans, the New York Knicks. There's some other minor league teams as well. But there are a lot of ethnicities that are represented across sports on all platforms. So the issue seems to be whether or not you get rid of them all, whether you get rid of some, or you leave them like they are and deem them not derogatory. To me, it's not as prominent for me to see other views, I guess, is the issues. But for me, as long as they're not in a derogatory nature, I don't have a problem with them being named. Now, I don't know if everybody else shares that view, but that is how I view it. Walt, do you have any?
Well, I think the problem is, I think what you're saying is absolutely right. We don't see it as a derogatory, but others do. They see it as a derogatory, and that's the issue. It's all about what offends and what doesn't offend. It seems, and it's funny, people were saying in Dan's chat earlier, talking about things that offend people, this is America. Something offends everybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it seems like, there's always something that offends someone. I don't know what was, the genesis behind the names when they were originally made. But some of these names have been around for over 100 years. I don't know. I totally respect someone if this offends them. I don't think it's meant to offend. And if it does offend, I guess we have to find – this is really a tough subject because what do? You have a history of the Washington Redskins that's been around for about 100 years, so close to it. Do you just change the name? Do you not change the name? This is really hard, and this is why we want to ask people in the chat. And we probably should have had a few more people on with us tonight.
Well, I thought about that after we did that too. But and Miguel put in the chat just now, kind of something to that point. The only one he thinks is if he is Redskins because it's not actually the name of an actual group. It's kind of a slang name for a group of people. But at the same time, so is the Yankees.
Yes,
it is a very slang term for.
I'm called a Yankee.
Yes, myself as well. But see, I don't take offense to that.
No, me either.
And I don't know. It's hard for me to view how that would be derogatory with that. But again, we have had probably the privilege of not being oppressed for a lot of in a lot of circumstances throughout history, where some of these other people may have been, and that there's something slang to them may mean something completely slang than Yankee does to us. So that's where we. For honestly, just being ignorant to their culture, ignorant to what it means to them, that is why I don't see why there is such an issue with ethnic group mascots.
Mm-hmm. But it's a tough subject, and there are so many. And the thing about it is where do you draw the line? Because if you're going to change the Redskins, I have to let the dog out. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Now you know the answer to that song. Who let the dog out?
Walt did.
It was Walt. My dad joke for the stream. I gotta have one. But I guess the thing is where do you draw the line? Do you change all the names? Indians, Braves, and even the Indians. It's not so much even the name that's offensive. It's the logo. It's the mascot. It's Chief Wahoo. It's considered offensive in that respect. So I guess we have to find out where do we draw the line? Do we change everybody's names? Do the Kansas City Chiefs get changed? Do the Chicago Blackhawks get changed? Do we change the Braves? Do we change all of them? So it's a topic. That's the word I'm looking for. That needs to be talked about, and it's a conversation that needs to be had because everybody has to be heard.
Absolutely.
That's how I feel about it. Where we go with this is really hard because there's such a rich history of Redskins that it's not meant. I don't know if it was even meant to be, derogatory when it was originally created. I don't know the history.
And in today's times, things are not the same as they were back then. Things now are not as socially acceptable as they were back then, and things today are more socially acceptable than that weren't back then. For instance, in Peter Pan, they have a song about the Indians, and they call them the Red Man, which is I'm assuming is forgive my ignorance if I don't know any better, but they call the Indians the Red Man there in a Peter Pan cartoon. And we have the Redskins, which are a group of Native Americans as well. Is that not the same? Are they not basically saying the same thing? Is that now it may have been acceptable back then, but not now?
Right, exactly. And a lot of people in the chat say, I don't think, Jelly says, I don't think people thought about it back then. No, probably not. Absolutely. What was acceptable back then in a lot of ways is not acceptable today. Is that a good thing? In a lot of ways it can be. In some ways, maybe it's not. We have to decide that as a culture, as a country and as a people. And we're getting really deep.
And it's not just our country. It's
right.
Around the world.
Yeah. Redskins, again, they've had this subject come up a lot. Now, I live near the D.C. area, so I hear it often because I hear the news, okay? When it comes up, it's local around here because we're literally 35 minutes from D.C., okay? So the Redskins, we hear it here all the time. It's a volatile subject. You have people that are very passionate on both sides. Ultimately, look, it's a football name. It really is. If it got changed, would it hurt? Of course it would. I think people would be upset. But would it be the end of the world? No, it wouldn't. So, that's ultimately where I think we need to go with this. Logic has to come in. But logic has to come in a lot of ways, too. There's a lot of things that, and again, I don't mean no disrespect, that offend everybody, including me. But I don't necessarily take it to the umpteenth level. Some things we have to be, I don't know, thick-skinned on. Maybe that's the word. But I don't think it's meant in that way. Maybe it was. I don't know. And that's why, I'm glad to have everybody in the chat.
Well,
and,
Miguel would have been a good one to bring on this stream, too, for this one. But he even said, things were more acceptable to use what he's calling more racist terms back then.
Yes.
But see, that's where maybe I'm ignorant because I don't look at that as a racist term, in my opinion. It may be. But to me, Redskins and Yankees are on the same level as far as a cultural reference.
Right.
So if you're going to get rid of the Redskins, you have to get rid of the Yankees. Now, then following in, you have to get rid of the Chiefs and the Indians. Are they considered racial slurs, or are they just naming a group of people? Because at the same time, obviously, if something is a racial slur or a racial name, I would be in favor of getting rid of it because if it would be offensive. Yankee, I guess, technically is a racial group of people, but I just don't take offense to that. And maybe it's just different for other cultures.
Right. No, I agree. I'm sorry. I'm sending a message here real fast to to Miguel. In the thing. He can come on if he'd like. I just sent him the link. If he'd like to come on, he can definitely join us. This is a great subject. And it's good to have different opinions on things.
Absolutely. And he looks to have maybe a slightly different opinion than I do, which would be awesome to hear. But again, it's more of a cultural. I guess you and I would not be offended towards certain racial slurs or certain racial terms as much as another ethnic group may be.
Right. No. Absolutely. Well, that's the thing is, I don't know. I don't want anything to be racially in that way. It should never be that way.
Absolutely.
That's something that I don't know that we'll ever fully get there where there won't ever be racism.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we're lucky enough to ever get to that point. I hope we get to that point. Will we ever get to that point? I don't know that we'll ever get there. I hope we do. But you're right. We need to find ways to make things better. If this, I don't know. If they change the Redskins name tomorrow, so be it. It change the name if it makes them feel. When I say them, I'm talking about those that are offended by it. If it makes them feel better. Yeah.
No, people would definitely get over it eventually. But it's just, And Jim brings up a point here. He says, isn't Yankee a term defined by geography and Redskin defined by race? I was not aware if that's how it was.
Yeah. A Yankee is someone to the north. Yeah, you're a Yankee. The Southerners would call people in the Northerners, you're a Yankee. So he's right. But it can still be taken as a derogatory remark because they called you a Yankee. It was a derogatory thing.
Yeah.
If you're a Southerner and you're a Yankee, it was still a derogatory thing. It wasn't necessarily derogatory is derogatory. It doesn't have to necessarily revolve around race. It's still not meant to be something that's a positive, I guess. That's how I see it. So yeah, he's right. Jim's right. Yeah, it was more of a geography thing. Yep. The Washington Native Americans. They could do that if they want. I mean, what they would change the name to would be interesting. What would you change it to? If you went from Redskins, where would you go?
Well, Dan, what's that guy's name? Dan, the guy that owns them?
Dan Snyder. Daniel Snyder. Yeah.
So Snyder is completely opposed to changing the name, which if it was my team, I guess I would fight for it too. But to be honest with you, that sounds like something he would change it to just to out of spite, maybe. And not that there is or isn't anything wrong with the Washington Native Americans, but that sounds like something that he would do just to keep it in line with what it is now.
Yeah, and RVing to Disney, yes, that would work too. Just a regular mascot with no race or group of people. Yeah, I have no problem with that too. Absolutely. I mean, the Orioles, they're named after a bird. You know, the Oriole bird. The Oriole is a bird. That's fine. The Blue Jays, it's a bird. You know, the Baltimore Ravens, it's a bird. I have no problem with that either. If that's what they want to do, absolutely. Animal mascots are fine too. Whatever we can do, that would be I'd be okay with that. But I mean, you have like the Red Storm, you have the Blue Devils, you have the New Jersey Devils. Do we start getting into that kind of stuff? You know, there's so many different things we could find. But I agree. Ultimately, it's a really, really hard subject. But you're right. I guess what happens is people look at it as a whole of the history of the name. I've heard people that have literally said to me, "Look, it's been the Redskins for 100 years. 100 years? Why are we just bringing this up now? Or why haven't we even brought this up even 10 years ago, 20 years ago? If it's that offensive." I don't know how to answer that question. You know,
and I guess that's more along. Again, for me, it's more historical. Why is it all of a sudden a different need, or why is it all of a sudden a problem? And it may be because we are an evolving world. In my opinion, I think we are evolving to a less racist world. Now, like you said, it's always going to be around, possibly. Hopefully we can get there with that where it's not. But maybe the fact that we are trying to evolve is why this is becoming such an important issue now, to where they could get rid of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I love Jelly's suggestion. She says, or weird stuff like science terms like the isotopes.
Yeah, well, and there are a lot of mascots out there that do those kind of things, and it's just the ones that have been named after the Fighting Illini, and like you said, the Indians and all that. It's just such a rich history going back, some of them to the 1800s when they named their sports teams, that it would be hard for it'd be hard to see that culture and that history changed in a lot of places.
Right. Well, I mean, names mean like the Houston Astros. They're really the Houston Astronauts.
Yeah,
that's their full name. And the Mets are really
Metropolitans.
Metropolitans.
Yep.
You know, they shorten the name. So I have no problem with names like that. There's nothing to it. I mean, and they're really cool names. I mean, the Cincinnati Reds are the Cincinnati Red Stockings.
Yeah.
You know,
well, and RVing says, and she said it earlier too, the names don't offend her. It's like the Braves chant when they do the chant and the tomahawk.
Yeah, the tomahawk chop. Yeah.
To me as a sports fan, that racism doesn't even cross my mind during that. That's just the way. And again, that's because it doesn't affect me, unfortunately. Maybe I'm just missing it. But I mean, is that actual chant something that they would have done, or is it just that's the sports team's mascot and chant? Again, if it is offensive, though, to the group as a whole, then yes, I think it should be changed. But I don't think anybody should have to be uncomfortable with a perfectly legitimate case to have a name changed.
Right. And I think, too, and please, somebody in the chat, correct me if I'm wrong, a lot of times these names were given to these teams to strike fear into the opponent. Like back in the day, people would call Indians Redskins, and it was something that was maybe it was supposed to be like something you would fear. You would fear a Redskin, or you would fear a Chief,
or the Fighting Illini from
Illinois. Or the Fighting Illini. I think it was more of a let's strike fear into them by the name, again, it's not an excuse, but maybe that was maybe the vision or the genesis. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely a great subject to talk about because there's so many different opinions on it. And that's I love it in the chat because we got that all over the place here, which is great. And Jim says, isn't the nickname Chiefs similar to the Senators? Not a group of people, rather a title of prestige. Not the same as Redskins per se. Yeah, I guess you could see it that way. Absolutely. Yeah, Chief he's the chief. He's the chief of the tribe.
And Miguel has another good point too. Might it also be different because the New York Yankees, the name was chosen by Northerners, where the Redskins didn't have a say-so in being chosen by the American Indians, the Native Americans. So, again, I see both sides to that. I don't see. Well, I guess what I don't see is the masses of these people coming out in opposition for it. I hear it more in the news from groups that aren't associated with them. I've not seen one interview, and that might be my own ignorance. Not seen one interview from an ethnic group complaining about the mascot. It's more everybody else like us trying to maybe right the wrongs of predecessors and make the strive towards a more non-racist world. And maybe that's what the big push is too. I don't know.
Yeah, it's really a tough subject, but it's one that definitely has to keep being talked about. Miguel makes a great point. I agree 100%. There's so many different ways you could go with that, but I guess what I want a name. I don't know. This is a tough one. I guess it's really weird because it's funny when you get brand new teams that are, created brand new through expansion or whatever, and you get these new names, you're fine with them. But when teams want to change names, we're not fine with them. And I think it's because of the history behind the name. I think that's part of it. But if they change the names tomorrow, I have no problem with it.
I agree with you 100% on that. We're not. Hey, Corey, meets World. What's up, buddy?
Hey, Corey, welcome in, buddy. Good to see you.
It's not up to us to decide, honestly, because it doesn't offend us or affect us the way it does other people. But at the same time, I just need to see more of a push from those people that are actually offended. And Arvanes just said she agreed with me. No one in her family is offended or outspoken about it. And I'm not saying that there aren't people that are. I think that it's other groups of people outside of that, those ethnic mascots that are trying to strive for that. And that's perfectly okay. The other thing too is if that mascot, like you said, we go back to the Fighting Lion again, that's a warrior, to me, it's almost a sign of respect to want something that aggressive and good to be your sports mascot. Now, if that is being used, if the mascot is portrayed in a derogatory way or, as inferior in any capacity, then it's wrong. And I completely agree with it.
Right. Nope. And great points by everybody. Miguel says, the other thing too is, yes, white guilt does factor in. And I think that's not always helpful. A group shouldn't always react for something their ancestors did.
Absolutely.
Right. But the thing is ultimately though, but you want to get it right. And if our ancestors didn't get it right, and I say our, but it could be anybody's ancestors. It doesn't matter. You still ultimately want to get it right if you can. But you're right. I hate to say the word common sense, but you want to make sure that the decisions are being made are not reactive, but proactive. Absolutely. And the right overall decision for the future. I guess that's maybe the way I want to say it.
Oh, no, I agree 100%. And if it is truly offensive to those groups of people, then yes, they need to be heard and they need, action needs to be taken. But if they don't have a problem with it, I just don't see the reason in changing a history that has existed for many, many years.
Right.
If there's not a problem, if there's not a true problem.
Well, I guess what I also look at too is if it depends. Is there a certain number that we put on what's considered offensive? For instance, if for instance there's 15 people that are offended by something, does that mean we change it because 15 people are offended? Or do we have to go because 15 million people are offended? Where do you, I think that's part of it too. If we're coming out with a lot of groups that are saying they're offended by this, change it. Goodbye.
Well, and like Kay just said, I think we should ask the groups. And that's exactly what I'm saying. I've not seen any of the groups of these ethnicities. I'm sorry, they're not even necessarily ethnicities. It's ethnic mascots. That I've not seen those people speak out on it. And that's all I'm asking is the same thing. Yes, I want to hear from them. Until I don't hear from them, I don't see what the problem is.
Right. No, I agree. If you go to the groups and they say, yes, this is offensive, and this is why it's offensive.
Yeah, educate.
I could just say, oh, it's offensive, but not give you an explanation. I think we're all entitled to explanations. If they say why they're offended by it, change the name.
And Miguel says Native Americans have spoken.
Oh, they have. Okay.
And see, I just haven't seen that. Maybe that is also they're not getting the due process and media that they deserve.
Yes. Well, then they should. But if that's the case, then that's definitely something that needs to be looked into and changed if necessary. Absolutely.
And Jim with More Sunshine Please is heading out. Thanks, Jim, for coming.
Thanks, Jim. Take care, buddy. And again, these subjects, when we do these controversial ones, I really appreciate everybody in the chat. That's the whole point of these, is to talk about it and to learn from each other, because, we're learning tonight from Miguel. Miguel's giving us information that we didn't know.
Exactly.
That's what makes these so much fun is, you can still be respectful and have fun with it and yet learn from it. So Miguel said, but I'm sure I agree, right and wrong aren't relative. If it's wrong to throw around racial slurs, even if someone of that race is okay with it, it doesn't make it okay. No, that's true.
But I get what I'm trying to figure out is what is it? I want to know to what degree is considered a racial slur, or just like you said, a group of people. If they take offense to it as a racial slur, then it's a racial slur. Yes, it needs to go away immediately.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But if it's not taken as a racial slur in their culture, that's what I'm asking for. Is it offensive to their culture? If it is, that's all I want to know.
Yeah, maybe.
And yes, if it is, yes, it needs to go.
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, there's never any place for that. Period.
Yep.
It's such a touchy subject, but it's just ultimately, to be honest with you, it's just a name to a football team. Change it if it's that if it's that important and it's really something that needs to be changed, then change it. Yep. Absolutely, change it. And again, all we can hear is through what we hear through media, and I haven't heard anything lately. I know it came up a few years ago, but now I'm not hearing anything about it. Does that mean they changed their mind and they're not offended by it anymore? Or is it still being litigated in the background and the media have just moved on? That's what I'm wondering.
And on top of that, the only team I've heard about is the Washington Redskins. No other sport, no other mascot, no other anything. And I know there's got to be more out there. Why is it just the only one that I've ever even heard of? Why is it just the Washington Redskins?
Because I think that's the one that really more than I don't know. Maybe I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. Again, I need to learn more about it. RV and Disney says call it the pigskins, but that's kind of what they call the football. Football's called it. It's a pigskin. That's what it is. So that there's a lot of different opinions on this, and they're all welcome and definitely justified.
Yeah, to Miguel's point though, if it is deemed a racial slur, it needs to go immediately. I have no problem with that.
Absolutely.
I'm just wanting to be educated of whether it is or not.
Well, Kay Atwood, and that's a whole nother subject. She says, but some racial slurs are used by the people of that race, and it's fine. I just don't get it. I understand what you're saying, but that's not for me, or that's not for me to determine that.
I still don't think it's fine. If it's a racial slur and it's offensive, it's not okay, no matter who uses it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but yeah, I don't want to go down that road. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't use it even if they said it's okay to use it. Any slur like that. It's all about respect for others, and what you want, how you would want to be treated, and how you would want to feel. And I have no problem with them changing the Redskins name. I really don't. I mean, if it really offends folks and it's considered a racial slur, we don't need that. And the whole point of time is, I think you learn from history, and maybe this is something we can learn from, and learn that what was considered okay back then to say really wasn't. Even though they said thought it was okay, today it's not. So you change it. Yep. Yeah, I agree, 100%. LSU mom said, I read the following online. Some teams may not have a choice but to eventually change the names. though the article says the teams have appealed the decision. Okay, there you go. RV in the Disney says, well, would everyone be okay if there was a team named the Whiteskins or Blackskins? If not, then it shouldn't be okay. I don't know how this. I don't have a problem with the team being called the Whiteskins. It doesn't bother me. I don't care.
Yeah. Well, see, that's where cultural differences lie, though.
Right. No,
that was my point earlier. We just need to be. Again,
No,
I personally have not seen anything on the other groups of people asking for them to be removed. And when I do, then by all means, if they say if I see a group of people that a good representation of a people say this is not right, tell us why it's not right, so I can understand. All they have to do is say that is a racial slur. Then okay, I agree. It's got to go.
I have no problem. Look, we want people to feel welcome, and we want people to feel like they're part of just as much as part of this country as anyone else is. And if that's offensive to them, then and because it's a racial, change it by all means. I don't care what the history is. Period.
See, I personally think their mascot is beautifully done.
Oh, I
mean,
think so too.
The emblem and everything. That's where going back though, and maybe it's just the name in that case, but some of those mascots, I don't find those mascots themselves derogatory. And like Miguel said, maybe it's just the name for that culture.
Yeah, right. No, I agree. LSU Mom says the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office recently canceled several of the Washington NFL teams' trademark registrations because they were disparaging to the American Indian and Alaska Native communities. Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, I get it. I mean, that's where we're going, and that's totally fine. And I think ultimately, I'll be honest with you, Steve, I think the name's going to get changed.
I think so too, and I'm going to be okay with it. I'm one of those guys that doesn't care. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate and ask why. Again, I'm just looking for education. I want to know why it's offensive.
Right. No, and RV in the Disney says, no, I meant in general, do you think people would be okay with it? Sorry, I wasn't trying to put it on you and Steve. Oh, that's okay.
Not at all, yeah.
Whether it's a rhetorical question or whether it's specific to Steve and I have no problem answering it. I wouldn't look. I wouldn't have a problem with a team called the Whiteskins. I don't really care. I mean, for me, but that's just me. But you're right. As a whole, there may be people that are very upset by that.
Yes, and going back though, again throughout history, that wouldn't offend you or I because we've not had to deal with a lot of those oppressions that other groups of people have.
Absolutely. I agree. Miguel's here.
There's our guy.
There he is. Can you hear me?
All right. Yes.
Educate us, my friend.
Can you hear him? Because I can't hear Miguel.
I can hear both of you.
I can hear Miguel. Can you not hear Miguel?
I cannot, but I can't jump out because if I jump out,
you'll end the stream.
I'll jump out and come back in.
He's going to jump out and jump back in? Yeah, jump out and jump back in and see if maybe I can hear you. I'm sorry, buddy. I can't hear you.
I'm not.
And Kay, that's a good point. She says the Native Americans were first.
Hello.
I have Cherokee blood, very small
Can you
amount.
hear me?
I am not crazy about Redskins. I don't have any issues with Braves or Indians.
Can you hear me?
That's the point we're looking for, because if that's something that upsets you, that's what we want to know. And Kay, I'm glad you told us because this is important. These are the types of things we need to know. Miguel, are you there, buddy?
Test.
I still can't hear him, but don't worry about me. I don't need to hear him. I do need to hear him, but for some reason I can't hear.
Oh, drop again.
Oh, he's going to – hopefully we can get Miguel in here, guys. But
if nothing else, I'll tell him to stay when he gets back because he can give his points of view to us, and you can catch it on the replay for sure. But I think it is important for Miguel to speak here because Miguel is a very scholared man, and he presents himself well, and I'm sure he's got some great things to say.
I'm going to send him another link. I'm going to send it again.
Okay. Yeah, RV, sometimes when sometimes Walt has some issues on his end where he can't hear some people in chats for some reason. We haven't figured out why.
I don't know why. It's like I can hear Steve, but then when an additional person comes in, for some reason it doesn't work as well.
Okay. Miguel, he sent you another link too, just in case you didn't hear that. So
I sent another link again. Miguel, if you want to try that one. I know you guys can hear him, but for some reason I can't. Steve and I will sometimes have issues when we first get together on this, and he'll have to go out and come back in. That's why. But if I go out, it won't work.
All right. Can you hear me?
Can you hear him now?
No, but go ahead. Steve
Okay.
said. Steve made a good point. Steve, you can kind of relay it to me, and I can talk about it as well.
Yeah, Big O, we want to hear your opinion. So go ahead and give it to him. And if I'll relate to him, and he'll watch the replay as well.
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I think so. I generally agree with you guys and what you've said so far. I think that it's become unfortunate, and I appreciate even just the conversation that's happened here with you guys and in the chat, because I think it's much more productive and more along the lines of the kinds of conversations we need, right? So I think the media kind of blows it out of proportion. I think it too quickly becomes politicized. So it's no longer about people, but it's about being part of a particular group. And you almost feel responsibility to stand this way or that way, depending on certain affiliations. So I agree with almost everything you guys have said when it comes to the Blackhawks, when it comes to the Indians, the Braves, the Chiefs. My high school team, right? I played high school football. We were the Chiefs, right? And we used to do the tomahawk, and we used to do, so I think all of that was fine. My concern is with the term redskin, and this isn't like, oh, I've done so much research on it, but to the best of my understanding, this would have been a term used not unlike the term savage, right? So even though that became a term that was very popular, you could read it in a lot of literature, you hear it in movies, it was the way in which oppressors, and you brought this up earlier, Steve, it was the way oppressors referred to this group of people. And so it's historically tied to that. And we think about, this year in English, I had my students read Mark Twain's works. We read To Kill a Mockingbird. There's all kinds of
meant in a derogatory way.
Yeah, and there's all kinds of terms and all kinds of names that are used there that would have been okay for literature to have and contain, and we still allow it as kind of a historical reference, but we wouldn't want to be regularly using it today. And I think this, and my point earlier, and then I'll let you guys jump back in here. My point earlier is I actually think whether or not people are offended by it is actually removed. That's like my secondary concern. My primary concern is, are we throwing around a racial slur kind of nonchalantly? Exactly. That would be my primary concern, because I think whether or not people are okay with it or have kind of gotten used to it, it doesn't make it okay. And then obviously a secondary concern of, hey, if a big enough group of people are hurt by this, then is it worth kind of, planting our flag on this one and saying, no, we have the right. I'm generally one that says, look, you have a business, you call it whatever you want. And at the end of the day, that's what football teams are. But I think we want to be sensitive to a certain extent, right? But I agree with you guys, Chiefs, Braves, Indians, and all of that. They're terms that are actually more fierce, competitive, having kind of a fighter mentality, those kinds of things. So generally, I think it's okay. It's the Redskins one that trips me up a little. And I'm not saying I have a firm stance on it, but I just felt like certain things should be at least brought up in the discussion.
Well, and Redskins, it may be the one that is more, when you think about it, is not necessarily saying Indians. It is referring to maybe a racial slur to them, and I get that part. And if that's the one group that they say, hey, that's the only thing, I'm fine with that, and I'm fine with it to change them all. But my only real issue was, who's pushing the need for the change? Are they offended by it? That was all my issue was.
Yeah, the genesis always comes down for me, and what I did was I muted and listened to you from the chat.
I figured you did that, so.
Yeah, that's what I did. So if I'm a few seconds behind, that's why. But for me, it's all about the genesis as to why we're changing the name, right? Is it a political thing, or are we doing it for the right reason as to the reason because this is something that needs to be changed? You're right. I mean, I guess for me, and I guess this is my ignorance, I guess, and just me not paying attention is, for some reason, I never saw it as a derogatory. I don't know. I'm like Redskins. I should see it that way, and that's shame on me. But you're right.
I grew up with the Disney movies too. That they have in Pocahontas. They call in Peter Pan they call the red man red. They have a song about it. In Pocahontas they have a term called savages.
But I think you're talking, but it's more of a historical thing. They're telling you this is the history. This is how they talked about people. This is what they thought of them, how they saw them. I think it's different. I get what Miguel's saying is that's more of a teaching, a learning. This was our history. This is where we were. This is where we now are. See how we've progressed.
That's my exact point is I grew up with cartoons that told me that was okay. I've not been educated to say that this is a racial slur, that it's deemed that way, but I can completely see how it is 100%.
Yes.
So
and I'm going to listen to Miguel.
So see how it is 100%.
Yeah. So, and again, and I appreciate you guys inviting me on. I'm sorry it took me so long. I was eating dinner while I was listening to you guys, but, yeah, I would say that's the only one that kind of trips me up. And I know others, and I mentioned in the chat, I really do think, these discussions have lost their way. And so, but that's the one that I'm, and maybe part of it even comes into play. You brought him up earlier, Steve, is Dan Snyder, right? Like Dan Snyder, I feel like is kind of, he wants the controversy and he wants to kind of, say
it's free media.
Yeah, exactly. And so he's almost used it as a promotional tool, as opposed to like extending, even if you didn't want to change it, right? And you feel pretty strongly about not changing it. Could you extend a word of saying like, look, we use this as more of a, historical reference point or the kind of warrior mentality. We're certainly not speaking about anyone today. We're talking about a particular kind of, because Native Americans today, even though they have reservations and tribes and things like that, they're certainly not living the way that they were prior to the settlers. So that's my point. But I think that one's just a little trickier than the others, and so I think that's what makes it kind of, even though I have heard some complaints, and like you said, Steve, mostly from people online and not people who belong to these particular minority groups, taking issue with Braves and even the depiction, right? But the depictions aren't necessarily inaccurate, right? So again, certainly not representative of Native Americans today, but they're not referencing Native Americans today. They're referencing Native Americans of a particular culture and a particular time. So,
absolutely. No, that's great points. That's one of the reasons why we wanted you on here, Miguel. Thank you so much for coming on. Walt, you back? Walt.
There it is. I was listening. Like I said, I'm like seconds behind.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was listening to the whole thing. That's why. I'm here. I don't know. See, look, now you can hear me in the background. Now I got to mute that too. No, your point is well taken, Miguel. And it's all about educating people. More than anything else, a lot of this is from lack of education. It's what people know. It's what they're exposed to. It's also what they want to find out more about. Some people don't care. They don't want to know more. It doesn't affect them, so they don't care. They move on to the next thing. So education is key in a lot of this stuff, and a lot of times that's what it comes down to, is just lack of education. I love the fact that we can talk about these type of subjects because it really brings to the forefront issues that sometimes are swept under the table, and yet we can talk about them and talk about them civilly, even with the difference of opinion, and still try to move forward with education. For me, it's already given me more insight into what it is on this subject, and I love it. And ultimately,
absolutely.
that's what makes this so much fun and yet important to do.
Yep. And like RVing just said, knowledge is power. That's exactly what we're asking for. Why is it offensive to those some and not to others?
Right. But like Miguel said, to your point, Miguel, it's not just about offensive. It's about accepting something that is offensive, and we're just letting it go. And we're letting it go just because people aren't – just because you don't find it to be offensive doesn't mean it isn't. And it is a racial slur. And just because it's, they're not offended by it, should it still be there? And that's a good point.
Yeah. If it's a racial slur, derogative at all, it needs to go.
So I'll ask you guys a follow-up question here, and Walt, I know you'll be a little behind, but maybe Steve could go first. What about the business side of this, right? We are ultimately talking about a company. So even if we don't agree with it, are we okay with the league or the government? I think somebody had referenced the government has kind of stepped in. And I don't want to get down too far of a political line here, but I'm just thinking could we say we don't like it, we disagree with it, but still saying at the end of the day you have the right to call your company whatever you want. So because that's the thing, I'm not sure that I'm for the NFL saying you need to change it. But at the same time, like I said, I think that's the questionable. Well, I'm good with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see anything wrong there. But yeah, so I don't know. I think that would be another. Well, I'm good with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't.
Yeah. Yes. So with me, I think that any business, you have a code of conduct, and the NFL has one too. Now, if the NFL deems that code of conduct include that, then I don't care about what the business says. That code of conduct prevails because that's the organization or the business's model plan. So for me, it wouldn't be as political for me. It would be more, you have a code of conduct, a code of ethics. This is what the code of ethics and conduct say, and you follow those rules. I have a code of conduct and ethics where I work. So I have no problem on the business side of if the group decides to make them change that. And I agree with you. It needs to stay out of political hands. But I think as far as a business goes, it's not just the team. The team is like a franchise or is a branch in a larger corporation. That corporation is the NFL. The NFL is the company and the business, and these are all subsidiaries of that business. So if the headquarters of that business say this is your code of conduct, you need to change it, I've got no problem with them making them change it.
All right. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So for me, I agree 100%. A company it's your company, it's your team. You can call them anything you want. If it's a derogatory name and it hurts people, just like Kay Atwood said, Redskins is a derogatory name for her. The way you get them to change it is by hitting them in the pocketbook.
Absolutely.
Okay? It's any company. There are companies out there that have certain things about their company that people don't like. Well, then you don't support them. That's how you get them to make change. Okay? It's just like it's their right to have any name they want. It's your right not to support them. And how do you do that? Either A, you don't support that team, or B, you don't support the industry that they are in. One or the other. Now, will it be enough people that don't support it to make a change? That's the key point here is I may not go back to watching the NFL anymore, but I'm one guy. There are 100 million people that watch NFL football. They're not going to feel the impact. But if they do feel the impact, that's where change is made. It has to be a collective thing. You know what I'm saying? That's the key. People can be upset by the name and say it's a racial slur, but if not enough people make a stand and make them feel it in the wallet, it's not going to change it. It's unfortunate. It's just the truth. And I hate to say that, but that's just the way it is. I don't like the name. Kay Atwood has said it herself. It's derogatory to her. It's derogatory to me. I totally see it. But do we have enough people that believe that's going to have the name changed?
I think in the near future, yes.
Yeah, and to your point, Steve, I hadn't thought of it from that perspective. Yes, the Redskins are a company, but they're under this subsidiary of the NFL. And so if you want to be part of our club, if you want to be part of our group, if you want to play in our games, then you need to play by certain rules as well. So I think you're right. If the NFL deems I think I'm okay with it if the NFL says, look, you need to change this, because they're they're the bigger umbrella, right?
Yep.
And so they're the brand and all of that. So I get that, and I think that would be fine. But like you said, I don't know that I'm comfortable with Congress weighing in on this.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and Amanda from the Lucky Minutes here. Thank you for showing up, Amanda. Well, Walt's on his delay.
Hey, I'm back. Sorry.
Okay, you're right.
See, look, this is progress. Look, we're working around the issue.
Yes.
We have 2 issues tonight, and we're working through both of them. But no, that's how anything gets changed, unfortunately, in today's world, is how it affects people financially.
Yep.
It's an unfortunate thing. People don't just change things to change it because it's right anymore. I wish we did. We just don't do it that way anymore. There's very few that do. It's very refreshing when it happens, but it doesn't. Congress, Kay Atwood makes a good point. She says Congress would make a mess of things.
Absolutely.
They would. And that's because Congress is only going to see it as a political thing. They're not going to see as to whether or not it's right or wrong. The left is going to see it as an advantage for them, or the right is going to see it as an advantage for them. That's it. They're not looking for the people. They're looking at their party, how it's going to help them. So you're right. Congress has to stay out of it. Well, it has to be dealt with the right way. And it comes down to the checkbook. It's unfortunate, but in this world, that's where it comes down to.
Yep. So I guess if you think about it, and I haven't thought about it this way before until just sitting here and listening to people and listening to Kay and some of these others. It literally is talking about the color of skin to a degree, which in my definition of the book is a complete racial slur towards a group of people, just like you would name any other racial slurs used against the color of somebody's skin. And that's exactly what it is. And I don't know why I've never seen that before, but that's why we have these discussions, so that you can hear it. To me, it was just another group, another tribe, another something else, but it's not. It really is talking about directly the color of somebody's skin. It's in the name. So that, to me, I can completely see as being a racial slur, and I do think it should be removed 100%.
Yeah, but will they? That's the key.
I think yes. I think the NFL will get involved, and I think it's going to fall into, like I said, the code of conduct. I think it has to, but I think it has to if we want to progress as a society, in my opinion.
Miguel?
Yeah, I'll be honest, I don't know. And I have, mixed thoughts on it. Washington, the Redskins, I know that, for example, ESPN, and I think ESPN has become too political in many ways, but ESPN won't refer to them as the Redskins. It's always Washington and someone else, and whatever their mascot is. I don't know. I think Steve's probably right. At some point, the NFL will probably come in. I really don't know it. I don't think it'll happen the way that you're saying, Walt. And I totally agree with you. Generally, change has to come through people's pocketbooks being affected. I don't think people are going to turn away from the NFL enough to create that kind of change. I don't think so. But I think the NFL, the leaders of the NFL, will feel enough pressure that they'll probably go ahead and make a move at some point. But I don't see it happening in the next year or two. I think it'll take some time.
Mm-hmm. And I unfortunately think that it's going to, as much as we don't want it to be, I do think that it's going to wind up political at some point in time. And I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I'm going to be wrong.
Yeah, I don't see them changing the name. I mean, this subject has come up several times. It's just a matter of the amount of pressure that really is put on the NFL. Daniel Snyder seems to not have any inclination of wanting to change the name. So it all comes down to the pressure of the NFL and how much they feel to the point that they are going to change it, in my opinion. But again, this subject has come up before, and we're no further than we are now. So are they really feeling the pressure? I don't necessarily know that they are. And for me, I don't know that it's as much as it should be. I don't know that it's a priority agenda thing for the NFL until it is made a priority agenda thing, if you know what I mean.
Yep.
Sometimes these things have to be pushed.
Yep. And I also think, I mean, name changes are really easy to do. They do it all the time in sports.
Yeah,
especially when people don't even have to move cities before they change a name. So, I mean, they can be made really easily. It should not be that big of a deal to change a name.
I agree. Yeah, there's nothing wrong. Even with the history, everything moving forward from today, if they change the name, okay, whatever happened in the past, they're still the Redskins. But moving forward, this is the name now. So all the history from here moving forward is whatever. You know what I'm saying? I guess it could work that way in some respects because we had it when the Colts left Baltimore. Now this has nothing to do with race or anything, but when the Colts left Baltimore and went to Indianapolis, they're what it should be, although it's not. Everything prior to the move to Indianapolis should still be considered the Baltimore Colts, and everything moving forward should be the Indianapolis Colts. So if you change the Redskins name today, anything that was Redskins prior, still the Redskins. Moving forward today, we do it that way. That's just my opinion. You appease a little bit of both, but you've made the change moving forward.
Yep. I would agree with that.
That's my opinion.
And Stacy says she hates having to watch a video before getting into a live stream. So.
Hey, but that's how Mouse Talk is going to make that money. So we got no, but I agree. I think that would be the best way of moving forward. And like I mentioned in the chat earlier, and I feel like maybe we ran this past what you guys wanted because I know you wanted to talk some Disney, but I think I'm a traditionalist. Nostalgia is big for me, and so I've grown up with the Redskins being one of the football teams, and so I don't think we need to scratch its name from history, right? Like they were the Redskins, have been the Redskins, and anything they've done as the Redskins, they were the Redskins. And so I don't think we need to pretend like they never existed. But yeah, you adjust. And I'm not saying again, even that it has to be a massive adjustment. It could still be a reference to Native Americans in some sense if that's what they wanted to go with. Or even if they wanted to make it simple, I think of the Cincinnati Reds, right? You could maybe go with the Washington Reds and you just let that be ambiguous, whatever that is. And so, and it's not a major shift in the name. So there's a lot of different directions they could go where I think they could still honor their history, but also maybe move in a better direction. So
I would agree. Walt, do you have you got anything else you want to jump in with?
No, it was great. I mean, this whole subject it's really great to have Miguel come on because he gives a different perspective than what you and I were seeing, and it really helps it out a lot. A lot of people said in the chat too. Cargo said, "I agree with Miguel. I'm part of Native history. Use it as teaching for the future." Stacy says there was a survey of Native Americans, and the majority of them aren't offended by the name Redskins. So, there's so many different views on this subject, and it's great to still talk about it. You got to keep the communication going. The flow of communication has to keep happening because that's how we educate each other and we move forward.
Yep.
Plain and simple. But Miguel, I appreciate you coming on, buddy. We definitely do. I do want to talk about 5-10 minutes of Disney because there's a couple things come out. Miguel, you're more than welcome to hang on if you want, bud. That's up to you. If you want to just go in the chat. I definitely appreciate you coming on. Everybody, be sure to check out a Disney Life for me on Sunday. It's Jeopardy night, correct?
It is.
Yes,
it is.
Jeopardy night. We got 3 great people going to be on there. I can't wait for Sunday night. It's going to be a good time.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. I know this was very impromptu, but I appreciate the invite. I'm going to hop off, and I'll just listen to you guys the rest of the way here.
All right. Thanks so much, Miguel, for being here. We'll get you on again soon. So, okay.
All right, buddy. Well, everybody, thank you for that subject because that was a lot of fun. I definitely appreciate everybody's opinions in the chat. Everybody kept it very, very civil, very nice. even with the difference of opinions. It's fantastic. Ray J says, speaking of Disney, my trip to Shanghai has been postponed from June to July. I'm sorry. Hopefully you'll be able to get there. You know what, Steve? I want to ask you. I don't know if anybody saw this, but Disney has extended their after-hours events.
With the villains?
No. Well, I don't know if it's going to be villain, but Disney after-hours events were stopping in July or early August. Well, they've now extended them to later in the year to August, September, and moving forward.
I have not heard that.
Including dates that will be there. So, yeah, we are actually going to do at least one, maybe two of them.
I love closing down parks.
Yeah. Well, one of the after-hours events is the same day of Galaxy's Edge.
Oh, I won't be doing that.
And see, actually, we are going to do that one. Because I'm going to start the day in Hollywood Studios, and I'm going to end it in Magic Kingdom.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. I thought you meant, if we get into, it depends on what time we get into Galaxy's Edge. If I can't get into Galaxy's Edge till 8:00 at night on Hollywood Studios, there's a good chance that I'm not going to go. If we can get into Galaxy's Edge early and get what we want to get done, then I'll definitely go to an after-hours event.
Well, right, but an after-hours event is a hard ticket event, so you have to buy the ticket.
Yep.
So remember that, and sometimes they're starting to become more popular. So be careful with that, because that's why we're going to buy ours, because they can sell out.
So you're gonna go ahead and guarantee yourself on that date.
I'm going, no matter what. Yeah. Cool. Melissa and I have been talking about it. If Galaxy's Edge doesn't happen that day, then it just doesn't happen that day. We're going to do our best, but we've really wanted to do an after-hours event. But there's also one on the 26th, that Monday.
Oh.
And that one's at Animal Kingdom, though. The one on the 29th is Magic Kingdom. The one on the 26th is Animal Kingdom. We might do that one, too.
I'm going to have to look, because I've never been to one of the hard-ticketed after-hours events.
We haven't either.
I've wanted to do one. Animal Kingdom is my favorite park, so I would not be opposed to doing that one. But I'll definitely have to look and see what they entail.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Anybody in the chat? Is anybody going to do a after-hours event?
Yeah, I thought they were going to be done by the time we went.
No, well, they just extended them. And RVing to Disney, real fast. RVing says, Steve World and Mal Stuff, thank you for being brave enough to talk about topics like this. I really enjoyed it. You were both respectful with your answers and with hearing others' opinions. Absolutely. We love talking about this stuff. If nothing else, it helps to educate both of us on things that maybe we're not, that we're ignorant on and don't know enough information on. So it's our pleasure, and we just appreciate everybody being respectful back.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why we mentioned at the very beginning, for some of you that weren't here, this is all about respecting each other's opinions and educating each other for things that we don't know. I literally was sitting here and then realized that it is a direct connotation to the color of someone's skin.
Yeah.
And it's just been a name to me before, but hearing other people and hearing how they perceive it, that's why the first thing I said is, please tell us how it's perceived if you have a different opinion. And that's what we did tonight. And I think it was a great discussion.
Yeah. And Kay, you're right. Education is key. And, by all means, it's never meant to offend anybody. We're here to have civil conversations and to move forward. And we appreciate everybody being here. That's the most important thing. And that's why at the end of the night, we like to talk a little Disney to reward you all for sitting through us talking about something that maybe you ultimately may not even care about. But yes, the Disney Villains event, I don't know if it's going to be any of these after hours. So far, they haven't said that it's going to be, but I'm excited by that. I can't wait to do it. And of course, the new updated version of Rivers of Light, if it hasn't already started, it's going to start any day now.
I think it said it was May 15th or something like that. So it should have.
Oh, it already started. Okay. All right. Great.
I actually mentioned that when I did the Disney News thing a couple weeks ago, and it was supposed to have started up by that date.
Okay. Stacy Rogers says, I think with all the work they want to get done for the 50th, they're stopping extra magic hours because they need to do the work at nighttime. That's possible, because they're doing a heck of a lot of stuff. And let's see. And Stacy says, I figured it out. If you have one extra magic hour a week for 2 hours, by 2020, they have lost just over 4 days of work. Yeah, I believe it. That makes sense. Absolutely. Kay said she was more offended we had Tom Brady on our quarterbacks list.
I agree.
Oh. She's funny. Oh, gosh. Christy, don't even worry about it. We just appreciate you being here. Yeah, and you can watch the replay. We were talking a pretty controversial subject. But they also came out, Steve, I don't know if you heard about this, and I don't really understand this, but there's a new summer One World ticket offer that Disney's doing.
What's it called?
It's called it's called Summer One World Ticket. It's a new ticket that you can get. It's admission, 6 admissions for $74 per person for a total of $444. But you have to go at certain times, and you can only go to one park a day. But I mean, 6 days for $444, that's not bad, is it? Or am I looking at that wrong?
I don't think it's, let me see what it costs. I don't think it's bad, but I think that you can only use that for like 3 months, and that's all.
Maybe that's what it was. Okay. Yes, tickets must be used from June 4th to August 28th, so you're correct. And if you notice, they stopped the 28th, the day before Galaxy's Edge.
Yeah, and if I go to, let me see, your tickets, theme park tickets. Well, how many days was it?
It's from June 4th to, it's 6 days. It says here you'll be able to purchase the Summer One World ticket at DisneyWorld.com through the Disney reservations round for a total price of $444. One admission to each of the Walt Disney World theme parks and water parks, with 6 admissions for $74 per admission.
Well, a 6 day ticket starts at $70 a day, so that's $420.
Okay, so
for 6 days, but that's not a park hopper. So I don't know what the One World ticket. If the One World ticket comes with, can you park hop? Can you do whatever you want to do? I don't, and I think that ticket is also good for the water parks as well.
Yes.
So, and I don't, on a 6 day ticket, that is not included. The water parks are not included on a regular 6 day ticket. They cost more. So I think it's a good deal depending on how you do your vacation. But
well, here's the other thing too, which I think is pretty cool. You must be purchased between June 4th and August 23rd. It says here it includes 6 admissions, 1 admission to each of the 4 Walt Disney parks and each of the 2 water parks. But it says, this is what's really weird to me. It says guests have flexibility in how they use the tickets, including visiting more than 1 park per day.
So that's a park hopper. That's exactly what a park hopper is. But that's what you just read said. You have basically it's 6 days. You go to each of the 6 parks.
Right.
Maybe I don't know how that works. I didn't know that part about it.
Yeah, it says it right here. It's kind of contradictory, I think.
Yeah, it does definitely sound contradictory.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
We'll have to look more into that one.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Yeah, but the workers at night, they have to work. And it's funny. I've heard now that the Minnie and Mickey's Runaway Railway will open in February.
February 2020.
Yeah. So that's, dude, we're less than a year away from Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway.
Yep. Yeah, I think honestly, I could be wrong, but I think when they announced that they were pushing it back from fall, I think they immediately announced February of 2020. That's the date I've heard since I've heard it was pushed back. And and I believe what Disneyland is 2022 or something like that, but I don't think there's a month yet for that one.
Gotcha. But plenty of news. Of course, Galaxy's Edge opens in Disneyland Friday, a week from today. No, today's Saturday, right? Is today Saturday?
Today's Saturday.
I got lost track of what day of the week it was. But so we have less than a week, and Galaxy's Edge and Disneyland will be open. And it's going to be – I can't wait. I mean, I'm going to watch a little bit here and there because I have to feed my curiosity. But it's going to be interesting. What about you? Are you going to just hold off on anything, or are you going to peek?
My goal is to hold off. It's not going to work. It's not going to happen. But I honestly, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to see anything. I don't want to know anything. If we were talking about opening just within a couple weeks of each other, it'd be a lot easier.
Yeah.
It's like trying not to watch the Avengers and not have it spoiled for you.
Yeah, it's true.
That's kind of what it's like. You're watching Endgame, or Endgame's been released, and you're not going to see it for 3 months, and you want it to be kept a surprise. I don't think it's going to happen.
No, I agree. And that's the thing. And a couple people in the chat here. Miguel makes a good point. He says Hollywood Studios is making a complete comeback next year. He says we've had to wait patiently with all that's been going on. It's true. That park for the longest time was a half-day park at most, with all the construction and everything they closed down. And now it's going to be one of the most sought-after parks out there. You watch, the attendance in Hollywood studios is gonna skyrocket. I agree. But yep, it's definitely going to be the crowd levels are what I'm looking forward to the most. I want to see how Disneyland handles it, how bad the lines are, and to get an inkling of what we're going to get when it comes down to Florida. Any thoughts, Steve?
Yeah. I mean, the way I'm looking at it, we know the crowds are going to be terrible. We know they're going to be terrible. We know it's going to be a chore. We are going to have to work to get into Galaxy's Edge and to do what we want to do.
Mm-hmm.
You can either be bitter about that and bitter about what's going to happen, or we can make the most of it and make it our own experience.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be with other people in line. I am, anyways. We'll see how quick you can get up, but we got other things that we're going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a different kind of experience.
Oh, yeah.
We just, again, I said it before, and I'll continue to say it. Disney's what you make of it. So you can either be bitter about it and be unhappy, or you can make the most of it. Find a way to interact with the crowd. Find a way to share memories or stories and get to meet the people that you're with. And that's what I want to be doing. I could be riding rides at another park, but my goal is to. This has become such an
experience.
Yeah, the experience and the event for me is just how we're going to even get in. Then that's a whole nother experience once we do. So,
yeah, I agree. I kind of 100%. And Stacy said, I don't know if you can even really compare Disneyland's to Walt Disney World's Galaxy's Edge opening. Disneyland is going to be more controlled due to their lack of space. Yeah, that's true. I mean, ours is going to be more of a free-for-all. But I'm still banking on the fact that they're going to learn. They're going to have some sort of control over that, how that goes down.
But the problem is they already have the control over it, and they're not going to know what to expect. In my opinion, they're not going to know what to expect in Disney World because they already have control over Disneyland.
Right. Yeah, it's true. Yep, I agree. All right. Well, guys, we want to thank everybody in the chat for being here tonight. Again, great subjects tonight. We definitely appreciate all of you being here. We hope you all had a great time. Steve, real fast, you want to promote your channel?
Yeah.
I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah, we again, thank you everybody in the universe, in the community, in the chat. Walt, you guys especially. We recently hit 1,000 subs, so we can start streaming mobily. I got some ideas and some things we want to try around different locations to do things. May not always be Disney content, but it'll be Disney atmosphere content basically. And then of course we stream every Monday, 8:00. This Monday is Memorial Day. We still will be streaming. Oh, Cargo, you're great. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Cargo.
But we still will be streaming on Monday night at 8:00. We'll be discussing a lot of Disney and some Memorial Day stuff. I got an announcement concerning a 1,000 sub giveaway. We'll go over all that stuff on Monday, but we will be there at 8:00.
Awesome, man. That's great. Miguel said, have we been upgraded to a universe instead of a community?
Yep. Miguel's part of our universe, the Disney universe.
We are Marvel Cinematic Universe. We're the DYU, the Disney YouTube universe. There you go. Hey, Alyssa Steinberg. Welcome in. Good to see you.
I went and watched Aladdin last night, so the universe thing is still, that line is still in my head. So
that's funny. But and of course with us, Steve, thank you again, buddy. You're my partner channel. We definitely appreciate it. You've been doing great. We appreciate all the support you give us as well. You're doing great, pal. I'm glad you're able to get to the 1,000 and stream now. It's going to be awesome. Please check out Steve if you haven't already, folks. Here at Mouse Talk, we just ask again while you're here, please give us a thumbs up in the chat. We'd appreciate it. We got 25 thumbs up right now. We appreciate that. And of course, we go live on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We also been doing some vlogs lately. I did a Mount Rushmore of Disney video. Please go check that out. That was kind of fun. I'm actually in the process of editing a rope drop video, which I think will be kind of funny too. I put some little clips in there I think you guys will like. Be sure to check that out, the advantages and disadvantages to rope drop. That's coming out hopefully this weekend. I'm working on it as we speak. But Also, my other partner channel, Disney Dan, I want to throw him a quick shout out. He was on a little bit earlier. And other than that, thank you to Miguel for stopping in, special guest for a little bit to talk on this very controversial yet fun subject that we got a lot of education on. It was great having Miguel on. And we made it work, even though I couldn't hear him. You all could, and that's all that matters. But we appreciate everybody. I definitely appreciate y'all being here. Thank you again, Steve, for joining me, pal. It's been great. And we'll see y'all during the week. It's Star Wars Galaxy's Edge week. Woohoo! Everybody, have a great week. Take care of yourselves and each other. Memorial Day on Monday. For those in the States, please remember those that gave the ultimate sacrifice to have us be free to do these types of things that we do. It means a lot. And everybody, take care of yourselves and each other. And we'll talk to you all soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.